What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today we've got the new daily driver, the Stepside NBS Sierra in here. And if you guys caught the video where I talked about buying this thing and what we got rid of, hopefully you did, but I also told you about some of the things that I want to fix. Now, I'm going to start, I really wanted to start with the window switches because obviously I've got one cracked and I could get it up, but I can't, it's a pain. So that was really the first thing I wanted to fix, but the switches haven't got here yet. But the other thing that was a real annoyance, there's a couple annoyances, but the other thing that was a real annoyance was the fact that we did not have a radio in this thing, and this piece is cracked. So I've got another one of these surrounds up top there with some extra parts. We're gonna put that in, obviously, but we want to put a radio in this thing, and I'm going to open both doors and get my light in here so we've got better lighting while I'm doing it. But this is what we're going to install, guys. Now, I'll list all this stuff in the description down below. I've had really good luck with this. This is a cheaper Pioneer setup, the DMH 160 BT, and there's a couple different part numbers for this depending on who you buy it from. But guys, it does not have a CD player, but I don't know who's still using CDs. Maybe you guys are. Everything I use is Bluetooth from my phone. So we've got that. We've got the interface that allows us to keep our steering wheel controls. And then of course, we've got a face plate to make this all mount in and work. This guy I bought a while back. I actually bought this for the Yukon so we could use like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. This doesn't do it via Bluetooth, so you have to have this. I don't know if we're gonna get to this. I don't even know if I'm gonna use this. If I did in this truck, I would have to take out one of my cigarette lighters, and which may be fine because it has two down there, but I do not plan, guys. I know a lot of these trucks have had consoles in them that I've done, like my green truck over there. I'm not planning on putting a console in this truck like that. I don't want a full length console because there is an occasion that three of us hop in this thing. So that eliminates us driving that sometimes. So I want to keep this a 3-seat option, but either way, I'm going to go ahead, set you guys up. I'm going to get my light in here. My hood light actually fits nicely up here, and we're going to get started taking this apart. The good thing is we don't have an old radio to take out. The bad thing is, I don't know, hopefully we don't break anything getting it apart. This light might be in my way up here, but hopefully you guys it a little bit easier to see. Hopefully the battery's good in it. But very first thing we need to do is let's drop this thing. I've got my foot on the brake. A lot of people say hit the emergency brake. You don't have to if you keep your foot on the brake. Let's get this thing out. Like I said, I'm not sure how somebody broke this unless they were really pulling on it. Just watch your switch here, because a lot of times people break those. The other thing, guys, I'll probably do is, you know, the OCD in me, I'll probably like dust this off because it makes me a little crazy. But we don't have to take a radio out. One cool thing is whoever took the radio out of this thing before, they left. This is definitely not the factory plug. They've got the world's longest extension on this, and it makes me a little nervous because it looks like it's cut. Maybe it's not. I don't know, that gives me a bad feeling. It's got a bunch of electrical tape on it. I'll take that off and we'll see what we got going on, but we don't have anything to unplug. Normally you would have a couple 7mm here, and luckily they did screw them back in, so that was nice of them to, even though they took the radio out. And the previous owner said the guy that he bought it from took his double dent out. So we'll get a 7mm, run these guys out, and let me get the tape off this and see what we're dealing with. Good news, after taking the tape off, it's just a really long extension, which I'm not going to be using. I have another one. So let's go over to the table and see exactly what we've got. There's a little chip in the HVAC controls. Yeah, let's go take a look at what we got at the table. Got everything out of the box here, and guys, I actually think I am going to try to figure something out here. Just because a lot of stuff nowadays just comes with a USB, and this will work, it'll double as a charging port. But actually, I want to say that's what it's supposed to be anyway. So we're gonna try to use that. But either way, got the dash bezel, we'll call it, and I went ahead and took this out of the package, and these two pieces just snap in either side. Got the radio out, got all the wiring for the radio, which is all this stuff here, and then the mic. Guys, I generally don't use the mic, but just because I don't like the way they look. And then we've got the pack harness. Now, the downside, there's ups and downs to the pack harness. The downside is they put your speaker wires on these RCAs. I'm not really sure why, so you have to cut those off in order to make these work. They're still the same color, but we got some wiring to do there. But one cool thing about this is it allows us to retain the steering wheel controls. Now, I noticed on this one, and I don't know that I've ever seen this before, but our steering wheel controls on this guy, oh, I guess, no, that's the mute wire. There's a steering wheel control that's like an RCA, which I guess is good because this has a plug for that you see right here. So I guess that's the way we'll use that. It's just like more plugs. I wish it were just wired into this guy, but either way, we've got it. And so I think here's where we're gonna start. I'm gonna see if we can get this thing around here, position it with these little screws here, and see if we can make it fit in the dash first, because that to me is one of the biggest parts, is the fitment in the dash. The wiring, you know, there's no way, you just plug in the wires that you need, your reds to reds, your yellows to yellows, illumination and speakers. Not a whole lot there. I'm gonna solder all those connections anyway, but this fitment part drives me crazy when a radio doesn't fit right. So we're gonna get this into here, put a couple of these screws in, and we're just gonna test it. That way we're not trying to move wire in and out while we're test fitting it. So this is, I would call pretty dummy proof. I don't love the fact that I can't get this to push in any closer. It only goes so far into this bezel, but it looks better than nothing at all. There's just a little bit of a gap on the bottom, and you could probably, you know, take this thing apart and try to maneuver it around, but I wanted to make sure that it fit. And it does fit, and that actually is flush. Okay. But what I'm saying is there's a little bit, it's a little bit bigger on the bottom and the top, but it's pretty uniform. So I'm okay with that. Looks pretty good. I will tell you guys, I had to pull the face, like the protective plastic off, which I generally don't like to do until I'm, you know, close to finish, but it's definitely going to fit. I'm just hoping with the wiring, we don't have any issue. I don't think we will, but sometimes tucking all that, like the pack harness and all the attachments that go with it, they go way back in the dash. I try to thread them back in there. It'd be nice if I had this right now, because we could just knock this all out at one time, but I don't. So we're just going to deal with this for now. That looks nice, and actually the holes lined up great. So we got that part. So we're going to set this aside. And then what I was talking about, guys, is as far as like putting that USB in, I think I'm going to put it in this one, because the cap, you know, the little flap that folds over is gone. So I'm going to just unplug that thing back there, and since it's got a plug, we can hopefully just tape up the end of it, that way we don't short anything, and we will probably install that right there. I don't know if I can get, I'm hoping I can get it out of there without having to pull this whole piece out, but just because it's part of the whole glove box assembly, so hopefully we can reach down in there. I may take the HVAC controls out just so we can get some additional clearance to reach down in there. As far as the wiring goes, this is what we've got. This big long green cable, guys, we're gonna cut it off just like the rest of them. This is supposed to go to the e-brake. It's just a safety that they have to put in place. So you have to have the e-brake set in order to make the video in motion option work. And generally I buy an adapter for this, but I don't have one. Actually, the one that I had, I used on my son's car. So we're gonna stick with the basics here. We're gonna go from this to the pack harness. Now the pack harness is kind of overwhelming. Like I said, we're gonna have to cut these off. I know that seems odd, but we'll cut all these off. These are our speaker leads. and we don't have this style connection. I guess some vehicles do, and which is why they put them on like that. That would be really nice to plug them in that way. So those are all our speaker connections, and those should match up with your harness. That's pretty standard, universal, like green to green, gray to gray. So like all these guys on this side, we'll solder all these connections together. So your purples, your grays, your whites, your greens, those are our speakers, and those will match up with this. You don't even have to look at the book. The other thing, guys, is our yellow. We'll go to our yellow on this, our red to our red, and our black to our black. And then there is an illumination one, also the orange to the orange. And then aside from that, that's pretty much it on this. So I'm gonna cut all this. This will take me a minute to get this all cut, and then we'll solder all those connections with heat shrink. I won't bore you guys with watching that. I've got my wire strippers. These work really well. I'll list those in the description as well as my soldering gun and you know, all the stuff that I'm using to make these connections happen. We have everything soldered, everything heat shrinked that we're going to be using. So there's a couple additional pieces here, guys, depending on what you're doing with your vehicle, but the 3.5 audio jack I've got setting over there. That's going to be for our steering wheel controls because of the type of radio this is. And then there's a series of wires for like the interface connector. You have a parking brake cable, which we're not going to use, vehicle speed output, amp turn on, accessory input. I mean, like there's several things like a reverse output. We're not worrying about that right now. We've got all these wires. So the vehicle connector, your black, yellow, red, your orange for illumination, and then all your speakers. So that's pretty much it. We have to plug this box or that end into this box. And aside from that, we have to plug in this guy, which is for our steering wheel controls. But we're going to test it at this point. So what I'm planning on doing, I'm going to put it in here like it is and test it. I'm going to get the setting. There is a certain setting here on the side that you can turn with like a small flat blade screwdriver and get it to the setting that you need, and that's for the steering wheel controls. And on the other side of the instructions, I think because we're using a Pioneer, it sets on a certain one. I'm sure it's on the inside of here. Okay, so it tells you different programming features. Let's see here. Oh, right here at the top. So set radio selection, depending on what we have a Pioneer, so it should be on number 7 on that switch. So we're going to rotate that, put it into place, and we're going to test it. One other thing, it reminds you here to set that switch before you plug this in. So it puts this piece of tape on there. So set this to whatever radio you have. And the reason they do that, guys, is there's a reset button here that you would have to push if this thing initially turns on and has problems. So we're going to give it a shot. I just wanted to tell you guys that because I noticed this sticker out when I was getting ready to plug it in. Got everything plugged in. One thing I didn't tell you guys about, the steering wheel control goes on the opposite side of the box. So that guy there, and then the 3.5 audio jack plugs into the opposite side with a separate plug. So there's a couple reasons I like doing it this way. First of all, we're not taping everything up, and normally, guys, I wouldn't set it on my dash, but since it's cracked, we're not gonna hurt it. But we need a Motorola, so a mini to a Motorola adapter, because all the radios, I don't know why the radios don't come out with a mini, but they don't. So we've got that adapter on there. This is just a shorter one, so we don't have that big long one like we had before to try to wad up behind the dash. These are those extra wires I was talking about. I'm going to tape all this up and make it look nice, but before I did that, I wanted to make sure it worked, because I really wish that PAC would put these on the same side of the harness. But I'll tape this up all nice, you know, make it look good. But let's give it a test. We're not going to have any radio or anything, but I want to make sure that thing comes on. And it does. And our beep, you notice, is coming through this now. Yeah. So we've got, it's turning on. The volume up, check it out, working. Without having to do anything. Let's try the seek. Oh, I guess the radio would have to be on for us to do that. Let's try seek. Yep, seek works. Let's try source. Okay, so see, there's different options when I push the source button. I wonder about the mute, because it didn't hook a mute wire up. Yeah, nothing happens on it. I'm sure that you could probably do something there, but the main ones I care about, guys, are just the volume. The rest of them I really don't care about, but it is working, which is good. We're just going to go to service. All right, so at this point, like I said, I'm going to clean up all this wire, tape this up, and make it look nice. And I don't want to get real crazy. I may leave the amp turn-on wire out and the reverse output out, just because I think down the road we may do those two things. So, but either way, we know that it's working, and I want to take this HVAC thing out for one, to clean it, but then to get back down there and see if we can get this guy out of place and possibly put that other piece in that it should have. Yeah, it's got a USB connection here on the back. That's the end that piece has. Well, I thought removing the HVAC would give me a little additional room, but it doesn't because of this little shelf here. So here's what we're gonna have to do. If I want to put this piece in, which I think I do, just because, like I said, I want to replace that. So we're gonna have to take the 8mm bolts or the 7mm out. So we need to put this down, and actually, it makes it a little easier if you pull the end out and like knock this all the way down. But there's a series of 7mm along the bottom. There's a couple up in here. Don't forget those, like in this pocket, all the way along. And then the rest of it is just clipped in. Now, I don't know if I can sneak it out without taking the knee bolster out. I may have to take it out as well, but I think I might get lucky. We're just gonna have to try and see. But I'm gonna whip all these 7s out. We'll get this pulled out a little bit. That'll give me some additional room. Wow, did that escalate quickly. Well, like things often do. But either way, got it. I don't even think I have to take it completely out of the truck, guys. This gives me the access that I need to unplug this now, and then we can push this out and go grab our new piece. Now, that new piece that I've got did not come with the radio. That's a separate piece, which I'll list in the description. But yeah, there's just a little more involved. Now, I'm glad I did this because I don't know if you guys see all the pennies and the change down here. I don't know where they were storing their change, where it would have fallen down behind there, but I mean, it was all up in here. So I don't know if they had change on the dash. That could be part of the reason why the dash is broken, if they used it for like a storage rack. But one of the things you'll also notice is when you pull these out, a lot of times the little clips come off. So like, see that clip's missing right there. It fell down back behind. So we have to put those back on. I'm gonna, like I said though, you guys know the OCD side of me. We're gonna clean each and every piece of this while we've got it off. I know it's behind the dash and you'll never see it, but let's grab this first, see if we can get it out of place. I'm going to take the wire out of this little holder here, and we'll see if we can get that other piece installed. You talk about a fight getting that out. What a pain, guys. I ended up cutting it. I've got my hacksaw over there and just carefully from the back of it cutting it off because none of the clips would release. But I got the new one in. You can see the USB. We got gobs of room. So I'm going to clean this stuff up, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to clean the back side of it, and then we'll get it snapped back in the truck, and I'll clean the front side once it's in place. But yeah, that was a fight. So guys, you're probably going to have to cut this off. Do a lot of your work from the back so you don't scuff up the front. I mean, this one's got some scuffs in it, so it's not a huge deal, but we've still got one cigarette lighter, and now we've got the USB that will feed the radio if you wanted to use that Apple or Android Auto. And so I think it's worth it. I put the cap on it. It's a little hard to get undone because of this, but I didn't want to put it the other way because it kind of got in the way. So you don't have to use that. You can leave it open. I just thought it'd look kind of nice if it were closed off. You can see I've got everything reinstalled. I got the 7mm all back in. Guys, I ran this line up back behind all the plastic, and you can see this piece that we installed here. I just took my time, kind of worked my way down. Like I said, guys, we're gonna have to replace this at some point when I find one. Hopefully I can find one that I don't have to paint, but chances are I'll probably have to paint one. So I didn't get real crazy, but I did use my detail brush and my silk shine just kind of sprayed on the end of the brush and kind of worked my way through all the cracks and crevices. I did the glove box as well. You could see I've got my light unplugged because I'm going to put an LED in there. If you push this guy, these little releases, you can pull this out and then put an LED bulb in there. I figured since we had it out, I had to take it apart in order to get this guy completely out of the truck. So I'm going to grab my HVAC stuff, put that in, and then all we have to do is just plug everything in the back of it. I'm going to leave the RCAs out right now. That's a separate plug on the back because we don't have any subwoofers or any other things. I also noticed, guys, my door speakers I don't think are working. At least they just sure don't sound like it. So who knows what's going on. I noticed that side's missing a tweeter. This side has a tweeter. They look like aftermarket speakers. We'll just deal with that when we get the switches because we're going to have the door panel off for that. But let's go grab the radio and the HVAC stuff and get it all plugged up. Got everything reinstalled. You can see my new piece, it's not cracked. Of course, the radio is working. Everything seems to be good. Steering wheel controls work. I went ahead and cleaned up the steering wheel a little bit. Still got to get my LCD or LED in the glove box. Aside from that, guys, when you're putting the radio in, try to tuck, there's a piece of metal that goes behind this. I try to put all the wires all the way back and only route the wires out on whichever side they plug into. So like on this radio, your antenna plugs in on this side, so I put that on that side. On the actual main harness, it plugs in on this side, so I routed that stuff. I kind of tucked the box and everything back here and then routed that in on this side. And then the piece that I ran up here, so the USB port, I went up, originally I had it coming out the other side, but it plugs in over here, so same situation. That'll just make it a little bit easier to put it back in. And then of course your 7mm that you put in, and then I put my dash trim on. Obviously you got to pull it down into first, and just be careful. We're gonna have to take this thing off again to replace this down the road. And like I said, the downside is I don't know if the speakers in the door are just unplugged or they're blown or what's going on there. My guess is they're probably just unplugged, but we will address that when we get to the switches. But I'm going to vacuum this thing up, and then we'll go through kind of how it works. And I've got some other floor mats that I'm going to put in here as well, but I'm going to get kind of a gradual cleanup here, just to vacuum and make it look a little nicer. Well, we got it vacuumed out. Like I said, I had some extra floor mats. These are like the heavy duty ones. I know they're worn, the GMC's worn on them, but they look better than what was in here, and they actually fit the truck. So got the glove box. I'm gonna turn this off. Maybe we can see the glove box light. It's hard to see. You can see the LED light there. It's not super bright, but anyway, let's turn this back on. Everything is working, guys, inside the radio. I've got some music playing here, some copyright free music, you know. Got the dash, the steering wheel cleaned up. I'm happy, you know, other than got my steering wheel controls working, and I think my phone's buffering, but you can see they're working. And the only other thing, the downside is, let's see if, I don't know what's going on with the music not playing. I have a terrible time getting signal in my shop because it's metal, but everything's working. You know, the only other thing I haven't tested was this, but I don't have a USB cable out here to give that a shot. Looks like my above headlight here is going bad, but definitely cleaned up. I'm happy to not have this crack up top. Obviously not a big hole for the radio. We need to do some settings and change some stuff, but you know, the next thing really, guys, is to get this window switches fixed. We've still got, you know, this deal going on. And when we do that, we'll see what's going on with the speaker. I don't know that I'll replace them because I haven't ordered any, and the switches should be here in a day or so. But either way, let me know what you guys think of the new radio. It's not a super expensive one, guys, probably $250 to $300, and I'll list it down below, but it does what I need it to do. So it, you know, it's a double din, made by Pioneer. It works with my steering wheel controls, and you know, I play most of my stuff off. I'm either listening to the radio or the or my phone. So other than that, there is one other thing you guys know that I always do on these trucks, and I figured we'd do that in the same video since it's kind of related. I'm going to take this huge antenna off, and what's funny is This was in the glove box, guys. This is one of those antenna removers. If you buy a antenna new from GM, they come with one of those. The downside is it doesn't work on the new one. So let me go grab it real quick. We'll get that accomplished and then we'll be finished. Now, in order to put this one on and not use the little standoffs that come with it, which I have been doing lately, this threads directly on there. I took this little panel off. It's just got a couple pop-in clips, and you can see this thing, guys, needs a serious bath. But I like this better because, well, the antenna is even shorter. And a lot of people ask, guys, how's your reception? I could pick up station 50 miles away with it, so I haven't had any issues. One thing I will tell you, I noticed my radio started freaking out right after I cut the camera a second ago. My battery's dead. And this thing's been really, really dragging. I think, and here's the other thing, guys. When I rolled up on this truck to buy it, the hood was popped. And I noticed in several of the pictures, the hood was popped. And so I have a feeling that it was known that the battery's bad, which is fine. Look, you buy used stuff. I don't blame the guy, but I'm gonna snug this down. We'll snap this back in place and that we should be finished. Got that antenna in place, got the piece snapped back in. Definitely looks a lot better, guys. But we are completely finished up. We got that old cracked piece off there, one of multiples. If you notice, my radio is still on. There's no key in and the door's open. I think there's an issue with the way the light comes on in these guys. So your like dome light and whatnot, it's triggered off of the door latch on that side. And I've noticed that a couple times, like the light's not wanting to come on. So may have an issue there. We may just clean that up when we get the door panel off because of the switches. So, but either way, got the radio in, so I'm not staring at a big empty hole, even though I probably don't, I don't use the radio a ton. But like I said, when I do want to use it, I want to use it. So got that accomplished, got some stuff cleaned up, got the antenna. Guys, we still have, several things to do. And like I said, it's not one of those things that I'm going to like get deep into. We're just going to do things a little bit at a time. So you're going to see stuff on all these vehicles. And then I'm going to throw some little odds and ends in the mix. It's just when I buy a car or a truck or whatever new, there's that like sense of excitement to just want to jump in. Like I really want to get on the paint. I really want to fix this. I want to fix that. So I'm trying to just take my time here and just enjoy daily driving this thing and fix some things as they become available or I get parts or whatnot. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, if you like this radio, if you're dealing with the same stuff as far as cracks in the dash and whatnot, let me know in the comments down below. But guys, if you are not subscribed, go down, hit that subscribe. Of course, like always, ring the bell icon that notifies you every time we drop a new video on this thing or anything else. And stay tuned to see what we work on next.